What's happening, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. We are here to the Final Four. Man, I cannot wait. We got two great games in store for us, tipping off Saturday, April 5th. And we're going to break down each of those games, but we're going to do it separately. We're going to break it into two different videos. So we got the Florida Gators and the Auburn Tigers that we're going to go over here in this video today. So let's not waste any time, guys. Smash that like button down there for me. Hit subscribe if you haven't already. Let's dive right into the action. We got the Auburn Tigers taking on the Florida Gators. Gators are 2.5-point favorites. Total sitting at 160.5. Now we got the two powerhouses from the SEC in this one here. It's got a 6:09 tip-off time. And we got to start this one off right away and address the biggest issue probably for Auburn coming into this one, potentially anyways. Janai Broome coming in with the injury. To what extent is the question, right? Not a lot has been said about it, which no surprise there. They're going to keep everything under hush. But I mean, dude experienced a right elbow hyperextension with a UCL sprain and then a mild left ankle sprain all on the same play. We saw him exit the game. He mouthed off to the coaches, or maybe it was to some of his teammates as well. We saw him mouth, "I'm done." And those words came out of his mouth. And then he ends up returning, knocks in a three. Reminded me of Paul Pierce against the Lakers, right? Like, man, you faking it? Did you have to go use the bathroom? What's going on, brother? But nah, no, we saw him favor that arm the rest of the game. You know what I mean? So here's the thing: is like the X-rays came back negative. And like I said, we saw him favoring it though the rest of the game. He was walking with a limp as well. I think that ankle's going to be fine. It's that elbow that does kind of concern me though. Not gonna lie. Hyperextension with a UCL sprain, that's not, typically something that you're not going to be 100% recovered in a week. But with that said, they've said that they will keep him out of practice. Probably won't move him around too much until Thursday. And we have seen him play through injuries throughout the season. We've seen him battle through it and perform well despite of that. I mean, he came back in the game and had an impact as well. So, I'd be shocked if he doesn't play in this one. But like I said, we'd be remiss not to bring up this injury. This is a big, deal in this game here, especially on that Auburn side. But I think regardless, we will see him play. Like I said, I'd be completely shocked if he doesn't play. And I think we see him have an impact no matter what percentage he can come into this game 50%, health wise, and he's still going to have some kind of impact on this game. He's just that talented of a player. But then you start looking at this one and looking at it for each side, man, and this one is tough. Like this one is really, really tough. And that's how it should be when we get to this point of the tournament. There's been a lot of talk about the chalkiness of this tournament, man, but this is how it should be. We have literally the four best teams in the nation. And there's a sizable gap between number 4 and number 5. When you start looking at the rest of the teams in the nation, right? The rest of the teams in the field. And it's not a surprise that we ended up with these Final Four. They just are truly hands down better than the rest of the competition. You look at the Gators and the Tigers, man, and like these are two teams that they play pretty similarly. Both are top 10 in terms of defensive rating in the Ken Palms. Both are top 3 in terms of offensive rating. We have Auburn coming in 4th overall in the Ken Palms, Florida coming in at 3rd. So yeah, like I said, very similar teams. Thing is with this, it's like while both of these teams sit in the top 3 for adjusted offensive efficiency, Florida falls outside of the top 10 at 15 when we start looking at adjusted defensive efficiency. Auburn sitting at 9th. Let's go ahead and jump over here to Outlier real quick. Let's look at both of these teams purely from a statistical standpoint. Let's look at the team stats over here off to the right. Flip it both to both the offenses here. We can see, both of these offenses live inside the top 10 for points scored per game. Both of these guys coming in at over 84 points per game, and they both shoot the ball pretty well, but Auburn does have the edge over Florida in that regard. 21st overall for field goal percentage, Florida sitting at 66th. As far as 2 points are concerned, pretty similar. Florida at 40th, Auburn at 33rd, but there is a sizable gap here in terms of 3-point shooting. 3-point shooting percentages, they're sitting at 35th. Florida sitting at 107th. And then in terms of offensive rebounds, we see that Florida is the better team in that category. They're sitting at 1st in the nation, while Auburn is down at 59th. Then Florida is pretty efficient with the ball, but we can see that Auburn is just like they're clean, man. Sitting at 6th in terms of turnover percentage, Florida at 50th, right? And we come down here and look at assist to turnover ratio. We see Florida at 35th, Auburn at 2nd. We'll go ahead and flip it and look at the defensive sides. head to head here, Florida actually coming in a little bit better in a lot of these categories, right? 7th in terms of effective field goal percentage given up to the opposition, Auburn coming in at 19th. We look at the shooting percentages given up by each of these squads, Florida sitting at 12th, 11th, and 10th in terms of field goal percentage, 2-point field goal percentage, and 3-point field goal percentage allowed to the opposition. Auburn coming in at 40th, 45th, and then 11th in terms of 3-point percentage as well. So both of these teams pretty stout against the three, man, but overall, Florida is giving up the lower shooting percentage. And we can kind of look at these teams on the money line, right? We can see Florida has won 10 straight games. Auburn has won 7 of their last 10. Look at them head to head, and Florida did win that matchup earlier this year, 90-81. Then we can look at this insight here from Outlier. Florida is 9-0 in their last 9 games that they have been made a favorite, a 100% hit rate. You can see also Florida is 29-4 straight up, 22-11 against the spread coming into a game after a win. Auburn in that same scenario, 27-4 straight up, but just 17-13-1 to the number. Looking at both these teams though, Auburn as a dog, 2-1 both straight up and against the spread. Florida as a favorite, 24-9 to the number, 31-2 straight up when made a favorite. And then head to head, we do have a good bit of data between these two, with Florida winning that matchup earlier this year, like we just saw an outlier there. They won that one in Auburn by 9 as 11-point dogs. So definitely an impressive victory there. These teams have alternated victories in between the two in their last 6 head-to-head matchups, but Florida has covered in 4 of those last 5 meetings, however. You look at both these teams, against the spread, man. Auburn 500 in their last 10, just 5-5. Florida has covered in 7 of their last 10. So like I said, man, this one's a hard one. Honestly, it's one that you can make a case for either side, right? But I think end of day, I'm gonna lean on the Florida side here. I think Auburn has a tremendous basketball team. They have a tremendous amount of talent. And it's apparent, like I said, man, that these top 4 teams that made it into the Final Four, these 4 number 1 seeds, they're the 4 number 1 seeds for a reason. Like, they are phenomenal, historically great teams. At the end of the day, though, I think Florida and they've showed it throughout the tournament so far. Auburn can have a 5-10 point lead with a few minutes to play, and Florida has that capability to just go on runs, both defensively and offensively, go on these spurts where they just completely shut you down, and they just keep scoring on the other end, and all of a sudden they catch up in the game, and then they pull away. I think that we have the potential for that here. I think we have the potential for a very, very close game. And we just see Florida pull away at the end because they're just slightly better. And I think that's where I fall with this one. I'm leaning Florida. I'm not sure that I end up playing that one yet. If I did, I would most definitely just look at the money line. I don't even think I look at points in this one. Try to lay points with Florida at all. Even it's a short line, but like, why? This is probably going to be a 1-point game in all honesty. But I do think I like looking at the total more than anything else in this game, and more specifically, the first half. And I would be looking at the under there in the first half. Look, these are 2 teams that play very similar, like we've discussed throughout this video so far, and they both play with some pace. Auburn's at 136 in terms of adjusted tempo. Florida's sitting at 59th, so they definitely play with some pace, like I said. But also what we discussed in this video, like what each team is good at offensively, the other team can counter, and they're just as good defensively. So now these are 2 very sound teams, offensively, defensively, just overall very balanced, playing in the Final Four, obviously, and there's going to be obviously a heightened sense of energy. I think on the defensive end to start the game for sure, for one, but also the fact that both of these teams, they're surely going to be feeling each other out, right? So there's going to be a feel it out period where we're trying to find a weakness of the other defense that we can exploit. So I wouldn't be surprised, and I'm actually expecting a slower, more defensive oriented start to this one, which is, like I said, why I would take the first half under. And that's probably, like I said, man, I like that more than anything else in this game. So, guys, that is going to do it. I hope you guys enjoyed the content today. I hope you found it helpful and useful. And if you did, please do not forget to smash the like button down below and hit subscribe if you have not already. And that's going to do it, guys. Keep an eye out for the second video, Duke versus Houston. And until then, I'll see you on the next one.